Hello, everybody, worldwide audience of the last day of the Fulldome Festival, in the last day of the Frameless Forum. Now, you've seen so many amazing contributors from all over the world. You've seen young and powerful, energetic startups. And now I'm particularly happy that I can introduce you to a round that may, to some people, have the status of the Council of Elders of the Fulldome scene. It's the board of the IMERSA group. IMERSA, well known for its IMERSA summits, well known for its protagonists. And so as I speak, I hope that these eminent board members will be there. So I'll try to get them to present themselves to you. And so first I want to call Dan Neafus. Dan Neafus, are you here, and can you hear and see us?
I hear you well, and what a pleasure to see you here today, Mickey.
Good. So
go ahead.
No, you go. So you are Dan Neafus. I think there are many people who know you, but if you want to briefly say what brings you to IMERSA, or what brought IMERSA to you?
Oh, that's a long story by itself. Just say it's a passion to participate and communicate with the community and folks like you. Do my small part to try to help everybody move ahead.
Good. So moving ahead with introducing our circle of friends and IMERSA luminaries. Next, I hope we can connect with Carolyn C. Petersen, high up in the Rocky Mountains. Carolyn, can you see and hear us?
Yes, I can. Good day to you, and good day to everybody.
So what's the elevation that you speak to us from?
We're at 2,818 meters.
Oh, that's a lot. Take a deep breath. So you don't look down on us, even although you are so high up. Thank you, Carolyn. We'll have a question for you in a minute. Right. So next should be Michael Daut. Michael, can you see and hear us?
I can. Hi, Mickey. How are you?
Okay, I'm fine. This looks very Californian. Where are you, Michael?
I'm in Los Angeles.
Okay, beautiful West Coast morning. You had your first coffee, I guess, already?
It's right here, and
okay, that's proof of concept. Thank you. And last but not least, of course, also in the California forest of ancient trees, Ryan Wyatt. Ryan, can you say hi to us?
Hello, good morning. Yes, and actually it's a little more Northern California behind me. This is Muir Woods, north of San Francisco. A virtual backdrop, unfortunately, not a real backdrop like Michael's, but great to join Jena virtually. I'm sorry I can't be there in person like so many of us are feeling bad.
Okay. We all pray and hope that times will come where we can meet physically in our circle of friends and elder statesmen and young upcoming startups. So without further ado, here we have Dan Neafus, Carolyn Collins Petersen, Michael Daut and Ryan Wyatt of the IMERSA Board of Directors to talk with us. Dan Neafus, can you give us an introduction to IMERSA and what it does and what's happening right now with IMERSA?
I'll be more than happy to. And again, like you said, the important event this morning, and certainly a pleasure to be here with the board. I want to thank you first for the hard effort you and the Fulldome Festival team have put into setting up this event, as well as others in the past. Correct me on this, but this is not our first time Skyping with the Fulldome community. We've jumped between using different platforms, and this time we're in Zoom. Mickey, you may recall that I think we cut some groundbreaking effort about 10 years ago when we connected with the BAP group in the UK. That was the British Association of Planetarium, leaning over, trying to connect a marginal interconnect between two domes and two groups and internationally. But a bit of a breakthrough. I was very excited to see the potential of this kind of a medium. Shortly after that, too, I believe that we connected between Jena, live at the festival, with the folks in Montreal at the IX event at the Satosphere. Another bit of fun to share with that group. And again, this is not news to many of our audience, but it is the continuing effort we're making to try to connect and to work this together. We all do have a shared vision. Primarily, what we're trying to do is support all of you watching out there today. Whether you're a newcomer or a long-term Fulldome friend, there's much we can do as a community, and IMERSA does everything we can to help move the art forward. But we do find ourselves in a different time, of course, with the global pandemic. The opportunity, I will say, has accelerated our efforts to explore these kind of events and connect these things up. In particular, IMERSA is interested in becoming more accessible and perhaps even a better resource than we think we already are now. I actually would love to have my counterparts jump in if you have anything to add to that in terms of this virtual environment that we're in now.
Well, actually, thank you for giving that overview and also mentioning that this is really not just a fleeting thing, but IMERSA is really a solid, long-standing organization that has done an amazing service. There's also a bit of a migratory aspect. You've had IMERSA days, I recall, as really day, a focus on IMERSA in Jena. There was another one in the Brunner Festival. And so now we've got the year 2020. Is there anything planned for an IMERSA day in this year? Who wants to say to that?
We do have good plans. We'll get into more detail of that here in a few minutes. Carolyn and Michael have been working really hard to set that up. Before I turn over the screen, I wanted to mention that IMERSA primarily fosters the growing interest in Fulldome, Fulldome Cinema, and any of the large-scale immersive digital experiences. This is a broad group that goes beyond the dome to include our kind of a bridge to other communities in giant screen cinema, in VR. All of these groups, we believe, speak something of a common language and have some common challenges and common opportunities between them. As you mentioned, IMERSA has staged annual events for about the last decade, and we're now pushed to reevaluate the importance and frequency of those events. So we'll continue to stage what we can, but as you mentioned, we're looking at more, frequent and virtual ways to interconnect. And in that regard, we have put together a council that's been working for several months and exploring what our future looks like. Some of the things that are important to all of the viewers out there is we'll be rethinking our membership structure a bit and trying to be more inclusive and have more opportunities to support the organization, even more so than has been in the past. Certainly welcome our sponsors, and we explore new ways to help everyone with visibility and the sharing. That's the majority of the points I wanted to cover, and indeed, my counterparts here are anxious to carry on. Mickey, let's find out what's going to happen with the IMERSA Day.
Yeah, who volunteers to inform us?
Oh, I can do that.
Carolyn.
Yeah. Well, as you know, we did have an IMERSA Day planned to go along with the activities at the International Planetarium Society meeting, which was to take place in June. And we had a theme put together. It was called The Many Facets of Immersive Storytelling. So we're going to go ahead with that, but let me tell you what we had planned and then what we'll be doing. What we had planned was, well, of course, we were going to introduce ourselves to the first timers, the first people who haven't been to IMERSA before, give them a little bit of a taste of IMERSA. So our first talk was going to be Michael Daut, actually, talking about creating audience impact. This is something that he's very passionate about. He's been writing about it for quite a long time. And along with the rest of us, has been trying to find ways to impart those little jewels of wisdom that we all have gained over the years about creating immersive media. So he was going to be focusing on how we could be leveraging storytelling techniques in immersive content for the people who really needed to have some guidance for that. And then we also had wanted to have a very deep dive into arts in the dome, because there's a great deal of interest in doing artistic performance in the dome. So we pulled in producer and writer from the Boston Museum of Science, Danny Corey LeBlanc, and she assembled a group of people who would be talking about the arts in the dome, and that included Ben Gondres, from the Fort Collins Museum of Discovery, who's been doing Dome Night, Dome Lab, about, I think, twice a month. And I've logged into a few of those where people bring in their animations and they talk about how they did them and just kind of talk about all the creative artistic things that they can do in the Dome. And then Danny also was going to be bringing in a producer for some of the very interesting nights they've been having at the Museum of Science in Boston, where they bring in singers and dancers and poets, and they had a rap singer come in and do some astronomy rap, and it was really, really going to be quite an interesting conversation. And then she had some other panelists lined up who would be talking about their various attempts to be bringing more art into the Dome. And so then the day would continue with an immersive focus on cool toys. Now, IMERSA wouldn't be IMERSA without talking about cameras and software and the cool toys available to filmmakers. So we had planned a camera workshop, which would be looking at some of the latest and greatest equipment, both the expensive stuff and the very affordable material that people could use. We had producers from the California Academy of Sciences, Mirage 3D, Museum of Science, and others who would be talking about how they were using these, particularly on location where they were shooting for the Dome. Then it also wouldn't be IMERSA Day without a wizard in attendance. And a few times we've had wizards come in, like Ivan Dreyer, who formed Laserium back in the day, and also Douglas Trumbull, famous filmmaker and producer. So we decided to try and see if we could up the ante a little bit. And we had been in discussions with a former Disney Imagineer named Tom Morris. Now, both Michael and I are big Disney fans, and we've been studying their methods for a long time. And so we talked with Tom, and he had agreed to come up and give us a talk called The Alchemy of Immersion. And if you've been to a Disney park or any of their experiences of their movies, you know you are totally immersed in a world that has been created for you. And for 4 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever, you are in that world. You're in Frozen, or you're in Star Wars, or you're wherever you are. So Tom has worked on some of the most iconic features at the Disney parks, as well as many of the the films that they've made. So we were really looking forward to having him come and talk to us about his experiences and how they would translate to our immersive, our own immersive work. Of course, we also are well known for the Fulldome shows and performances that we present at the IMERSA Summits. And over the course of 3 or 4 days, we can present a lot of them. But what we did for this one was we were going to have a group of segments lined up for the evening and one live performance. So we had a segment from the Mesmerica show, which is traveling around. This is the artist James Hood, who has created quite a wonderful piece of work. We also had some people come in with what looks like is going to be the very first immersive presentation where you visit the International Space Station. They're currently filming as we speak. We also had producers coming in from the Société des Arts et Technologiques from Montreal. And to cap it all off, we were going to have a live performance of a woman named Mary Bishner, who has synesthesia, and she was going to give a presentation from her point of view of having this very interesting phenomenon going on inside of her brain, where sometimes color and sound and feeling are mixed and not always what we would, the rest of us might feel. Now, that all sounds very tasty, and the bad news was that we had to cancel that, but the good news is that IMERSA Day is going to happen. We are planning to take as much of this as we can online. Now, the onset of the virus has changed life for all of us, and we're all used to doing Zoom conferences and live video. So we're taking all of these things online, and there's a great deal of precedent for this. The American Astronomical Society, which I'm a member of, is taking their entire 5-day meeting online for 3 days in June. And several other meetings are doing it. So we've decided, and of course IPS is sometime in July. So we're going to take a special immersive event online. We're going to bring in as many of our people as we could that we already had lined up. We're currently talking to Tom Morris. We're currently talking to Danny and her people to see if they'll come in. And we hope to include as many of those original speakers, and we really hope to also facilitate a live online interaction between all of you and all of us who are doing this actually from around the world. So we invite every one of you to tune in and experience IMERSA Day. We'll learn, we'll share, we'll participate, and hopefully we'll make it almost as good as it would have been if we could really do it in person.
Well, thank you very much, Carolyn. This sounds very familiar. I mean, the challenge sounds familiar, but our enthusiasm for, let's call it dome-to-dome communication, which is also human-to-human communication, is not being impeded by current calamities. So I really knock on wood, although there's no wood around, but still, I hope that IMERSA Day, in its new evolutionary shape and form, will be able to really, I mean, we're talking a lot about the anticipation of goodness in the future. I think you explained it very well, what we have good reasons to anticipate, because it sooner or later, out of this anticipation will become realization. So you'll keep us posted, and of course the Jena Fulldome Festival make sure that everybody gets to hear about what's happening with the IMERSA Day.
I think the only thing we have to fear is bandwidth at this point.
Okay, yeah, well, I think there's so much effort being put in deepening the digital infrastructure that out of necessity, I mean, there is this acceleration. And there are some benefits among the very sad aspects. And so we have to keep an eye on both of them. So you were very convincing in getting us our appetite whetted for the IMERSA Day program. That's not all that IMERSA does, and we know that you also are in close contact with the business community, with vendors, and there's a particular aspect that I think everybody is kind of puzzled by, to say the least, or frustrated. That is the different aspects of how can I standardize my show that is not only playing in the dome that I'm kind of friends with, but that it can be shown in other aspects. I don't know if I'm jumping ahead or right in sync, but if you think there's someone in the circle who likes to speak to this, Carolyn, do you want to pass the torch to your friend from the West Coast?
Oh, I think we can let Michael take this over quite well.
Okay. Michael, we know you had your coffee. Do you want to inform us about... okay.
Which is good. Although I look a little bit like the Dread Pirate Roberts from The Princess Bride with the shadow, and he's got like the first COVID mask. I don't know.
Okay, but I see you're well shaved. Now here's the man that can tell us about a strange acronym. It's called AFDI. But there's something very, very useful happening behind what these letters stand for. Michael, inform us.
Exactly. Well, let me back up a step, Mickey, and thank you so much once again for having us here today. It's a great honor to be with everyone in this virtual space where we've been spending a lot of time lately. But it's a really powerful way to connect, and there's an intimacy that's here, which I really value. And thank you again for everyone who's here participating today at the marvelous Jena Festival. And I've been a number of times, and I also wish I could be there with you, but I am. So we're all here together, which is great. We'll get to AFDI in a second, but IMERSA started as an idea, and it started in 2008 with a group of people who really wanted to see the dome medium advance into its ultimate possibilities. And if you think about it, the dome is a neutral canvas, and with all the incredible work you've seen already this week, you see how that can be so transformative. And IMERSA started as a vision, and then it became a movement, but more bandwidth was needed to make it sustainable. And at the beginning, it was just a core group, and it was a lot of the people that you're seeing here on screen. And we've decided that it was necessary to bring more people in to make that possible. And one of the first efforts that to expand the group was to create the AFDI, which was the Association of Fulldome Innovators. This is a collaboration of almost every vendor in the Fulldome community, and even some in the giant screen community, where we're working on standards for the industry. And in a very short amount of time, we developed a standard for 2K by 2K fisheye video playback, so that a producer can create a video and it can play on anybody's Fulldome system, which is wonderful for sending out screeners or trailers or promos. It's a way of submitting content to a festival for evaluation on a dome. So that's something we did pretty quickly. We also came up with a standard for metadata for delivering content in dome original format and audio format to a festival or to a distributor, so that the people who receive the content know exactly what's on the drive, know what frame rate to encode it at. And I'm sure, well, Mickey, you've encoded so many things over the years, and it doesn't always come out right the first time if you don't know the format that you're supposed to use. So that was a standard that we developed. The really exciting effort that we're involved in right now, not that those others weren't, but encryption and protection of content is something that's been really important for a long time in all media, with the access of digital content and things that can be easily grabbed and used without the benefit of the producer receiving from it. So we've been working with all the vendors to develop an encryption standard, and that's been published and it's in place. It's been in place for about three or 4 years now, and the effort has been going on slowly and steadily to implement that standard. And I'm happy to report that the AFDI is meeting very consistently, and we have made exceptional progress in this effort, and we're to the point now where we're starting to test the keys that unlock the encrypted content. So it won't be very long before the vendors are able to roll out this software to enable encryption to be a reality and protect the content that's being distributed throughout the community. So that's really big. That's the AFDI. So that was the first step in expansion. The next thing we did is we recruited IMERSA ambassadors, and ongoing program where people who are just involved in IMERSA that are excited about spreading the message can take the message of IMERSA to other festivals, to other communities, to other domes, and help people realize that there's a bigger movement of people that want to see incredible content and exposure created for this immersive medium. And the next step that we're really excited about is the IMERSA Advisory Council. This is a group of people who have stepped up, that are leaders in their community and in their planetariums and other industry leaders that have taken on the responsibility of helping us refine the efforts that we're doing as IMERSA. One of the first efforts is we're looking at our membership structure, what the different levels are, what the benefits are, what we can do to make IMERSA more valuable to our community, and also looking at ways that we can create more points of contact with the community through webinars and various things. And with that comes the opportunity for people who want to get involved to actually step up and serve IMERSA with the gifts that they have and the passions that they have. So the door has been opened much wider than ever before for people to get involved. So if I'm speaking to you right now and you're excited, like, wow, I really want to do something to move this medium forward, you have an opportunity that you never had before, and we would welcome you to be involved.
That's great. I think whoever listens to your words and gets a sense of how important it is to look at these details, which aren't just tiny details, but which are basically the foundation of an immersive community that really has the ability to fast exchange encrypted, protected material and sort of build a community of professional Fulldome people. I think this can't be overrated, the importance of this. So whoever hears this, here's the guy, Michael, who holds these threads. Thank you very much. I think if we move a couple of 100 miles northward on Highway 101, we come to the Muir Woods and we see Ryan Wyatt. But before I do this, Michael, do you have any last words before you pass the torch to your colleague in Northern California?
Well, I also wanted to thank you for being one of our valued advisors, Mickey. It's great to have you as part of this team.
Thank you very much. I do.
I'm going to jump in there and do a plug for Michael, who on the IMERSA Day in the past at Brno, and also the one coming up, has a impassioned and I will call emotional delivery on why we do what we do in the Dome. That is a not to miss when we have that coming up. So be sure to look for Michael's delivery on that particular talk.
Thank you very much. So am I. And I really feel this kinship of circle of elders that are basically young enough to do this thing and to get involved in this very young medium. When I think of Ryan Wyatt, I mean, he's at the San Francisco Museum of Natural, he will tell, what museum?
Academy of Sciences.
Oh, thank you. I'm lost. You see, that comes with old age, lack of memory. But Ryan, you're also a very, very successful producer there. I mean, it's always exciting to see new shows coming up from the California Academy of Science. You run a planetarium there, and as IMERSA board member, as far as I know, you're also very concerned about how can the assets of Fulldome, how can that be shared, how can that be cataloged, how can that be made available? Are those the themes that are burning in your creative head? What's going on with you and the IMERSA activity around in your specific circle?
Well, we've already talked a bit about the past summits, and Dan did a very appropriate plug for Michael's impassioned delivery of his storytelling talk. And the fact of the matter is that we have more than a decade of really amazing presentations by a variety of Fulldome professionals on an amazing range of topics. So we're looking at how we can take those incredible presentations, shape them, and kind of curate them into what's a more accessible library of content, shape some of them perhaps into whole courses for emerging professionals in the medium, and then how we can kind of play that forward, not only capturing and offering opportunities like Dan mentioned with webinars or with other online opportunities that we could give the community in these coming days, but also looking at a resource for publication of content that doesn't fit maybe in other places where you might choose to publish. So with a particular interest in technical papers, but also in some of the more esoteric topics that we've had the opportunity to cover at IMERSA summits. So really, one of the things that we're realizing in these strange days is the interest that people have in furthering their skill sets while they're stuck at home. And so one of the things that's really become paramount for us is looking at how to shape what we've already captured at these amazing summits and provide a set of tools to the community at large. So that's one of the things that we're hoping to focus on. It's something that the advisory council has highlighted as a real opportunity for IMERSA. And then moving forward, looking at how we can provide an opportunity to have more venues, including a periodical perhaps that could be used to share some of the knowledge that's already shared at the summits.
Well, thank you very much. There definitely is even more to share than people can consume in their daily life. But there's also this wonderful opportunity that talking about the circle that we have, we are now sitting in a virtual circle. The dome has this spherical roundness, and to design new ways to absorb the flood of knowledge that comes to us, to curate in such a way that the real valuable parts come and sink in and become the building blocks of future development and acceleration of the medium. I think it's an important contribution to the immersive scene, to the IMERSA group. Ryan, Michael, Carolyn, Dan, I thank you very much for being part of the Frameless Forum, which by its nature and name wants to invite information, inspiration, and insights, and you've definitely contributed to that. Is anybody volunteering for a final wave goodbye to the global audiences? And we kind of, you know, you all have license to burst out with a spontaneous idea. I don't know, that can't be commanded, but maybe someone wants to say something.
Sure, I would like to do that. It's been my pleasure to come to Jena several times. As a producer, I've judged there. I have simply sat back and enjoyed the many different and interesting kinds of presentations we've seen there. And I miss being here this week, I'll tell you. I would love to have been there, and I hope that we'll all get to see each other again. in the meantime, we'll see you all virtually.
Definitely. So I think the borderline between virtual and real becomes a little fuzzy at the edges, and that's a good thing. So thank you, IMERSA board. Thank you, Carolyn, Dan, Michael, and Ryan. We are moving on to more presentation of the Frameless Forum, and in the afternoon, or in the second part of the last day of the Jena Fulldome Streaming Festival. Okay, that's the right order. We'll see more full feature shows, more short films, and we'll have the virtual festival gala, where we'll have the announcements of who is winning the Janus of the contest in the 2020 Fulldome Festival, which will be exciting. I know some of you already had Janus in their hands, and there'll be new people with new shows, with new awards, and so I hope everybody will be excited that Fulldome is alive, and thank you for contributing to the liveliness of the Dome all over the world. Thank you, IMERSA.
Thank you, Mickey.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.